They're on a run of losing 4 out of the last 5 Premier League games. They've just gone out of the FA Cup. And Jose Mourinho was a manager you bring in to get results. And if he doesn't get results, there's not much else behind it in terms of a spectacle or how they play. And again, we've at times lauded that. But as I said, he's a results manager. And at this moment, he's not getting results. And you look at the difference now at the stats and the actual decline. It's quite alarming, really. I mean, you see the first 12 games, last 11. So you're talking about goals at the top there, almost cut in half. Goals conceded is obviously worse. But when you actually look stats per game, so the actual performances in games have massively dropped. And you actually look at the decline in terms of percentage-wise, and they're actually high numbers when you go through that. Shots on target, down everything, XG, shot conversion, which was always going to be difficult to keep up, I must say, because Kane and Son were out of this world at the start of the season. That was never going to keep going. And again, shots on target faced, XG on target faced as well, a huge jump. Now, I'm just going to look at a clip, and what I would say, we're looking at a manager tonight in Tuchel who's come in. Hasn't got Jose's record in terms of trophies, but it's fair to say the managers at the top end of the Premier League and around Europe play a proactive game. Jose Mourinho was reactive. They take calculated risks. The top teams, Jose is risk averse. Now, Jose, as a manager, and again, had great success doing this, he'd get in front. We've played against his teams, and I think of that Chelsea team. If they went in front, you ain't even getting a draw. The draw was the best you were getting. But that had Cech in goal, that had Terry, that had Carvalho. Go back to his Inter Milan team. I think Walter Samuel and Lucio at the back, two of the best centre-backs you can see. Tottenham's defenders are nowhere near good enough, and neither does the goalkeeper to hold on to leads. And you can actually look at this now. Points dropped when leading the most in the division. And I can just think of 2 games off the top of my head where it was, I think, Wolves away, I think Crystal Palace away. There's possibly more, but certainly teams who you would think Tottenham should be going forward, looking for that second goal, should dominate. And it just shows what type of manager Jose is. But we know that. But the big thing I'm with Tottenham right now is, and I mentioned this in commentary, and it just made me think, for the show, would winning the Carabao Cup in April justify the way Jose's team play? But the way Jose's teams play, we know, Daniel Levy knows, the Tottenham supporters know that when he comes in. But does that justify, and the position they are in the league now, we're the 9th, would winning the trophy justify that, considering that Tottenham didn't win a trophy under Pochettino? For me, you bring Jose in to almost keep what Poch is doing in terms of Champions League football or thereabouts, and just make that difference in a cup final or a semi-final. For me, they're a long way from the Pochettino team, and I don't think just winning that trophy, if the performance carry on as they are and the league position carries on as it is, I don't think it does justify it.
But he might look at it and say, yeah, we've got the cup final to look forward to. We might deliver a trophy, and we're actually, yes, 9th, but as things stand, 4 points off 4th with a game in hand on the team in 4th.
And that's spot on. We're at that junction now where this could go either way. Now, it's not about proving me right or wrong. I do worry for Tottenham in that I don't think they're good enough to be top 4. I don't think they will get top 4 because of that reason. I think what Pochettino did, Pochettino was criticised for not getting a trophy, and I can get that. But when we think of Tottenham and trophies, let's be honest about it. We never think of Tottenham for the league. We never think of Tottenham for the Champions League. We think probably every 10 years they might win an FA Cup or a Carabao Cup. What Pochettino did that was special, he made Tottenham supporters think they could win the biggest trophies out there in terms of the Premier League, a Champions League final. That's what he did. So when people criticise him for not winning, and Poch used to say this, I don't want it. He used to say, I'm more interested in the biggest trophies, not the littlest ones. So that criticism for me was probably at times a little bit invalid. But I do worry where Tottenham are in terms of actually getting back to being a top 4 club. I think they're a long way from that. And the actual football they're playing, to get there, they need to have results if you play like that. And they're not getting results at this moment.
Where do you think they should be?
We didn't have them in our top 4 at the start of the season, so I think you can only say that we should stick to that, and 5th, 6th, but potentially win one of the trophies that Jamie's just said wouldn't be good enough, which is the League Cup or the FA Cup. That's what we said at the start of the season.
So do you agree with what Jamie's saying then, about the method?
I do agree with the fact that it's an interesting moment. I think when Jose was at Manchester United, he got to this moment, didn't he, where dropping points, moving down the table, accused of being poor in his style. Maybe relationships with a couple of star players weren't that great. If you think of the Dele Alli and Bale situation at the moment, there's rumblings. 9th in the league, the style questions are being asked. But in a month, he's got a cup final, could be a trophy winner. The 4 points, as you say, off the top 4 with a game in hand, so they could be 1 point off. They could be 5th. Jose, when he came to work for Sky Sports for that couple of months, I remember him saying 3 or 4 times that he came to learn, to change, to look at what sort of was happening. I do think his interviews still are good at Tottenham. I think at United he looked a little bit tired towards the end. But I do think it's that moment that's coming in his Tottenham career whereby in this next 4 or 5 weeks will determine whether it's that and we see what's happened with Jose at previous clubs, or whether actually, no, he can change. Is he going to bring Dele Alli and Bale round? And I'm not saying that he has to pander to these players, because to be honest with you, Gareth Bale's wound me up all season, just watching him smiling on the bench. And Dele Alli, to be fair, I worked with him with England. I think he's a brilliant talent, but he should be doing a lot more. I want a lot more from him. He's an outstanding player.
You might say he doesn't have a chance to do anymore.
But delivering a great career. There's a reason why his career is doing what it's doing at this moment. It's not just Jose Mourinho. Dele's got to get hold of that himself. So for me, the Dele Alli and Bale situations need grabbing hold of and dealing with properly. Now, that might mean that Jose Mourinho hasn't got the same level of control maybe with top players he did have 15 years ago when he was winning league after league and he could do what he wanted. He might have to change in terms of how he deals with the senior players. He's going to have to maintain a good relationship with the media, and he's doing that. I think his interviews are good. I think he's going to have to win a couple of football games. I don't think the style will change, but the style that we saw there that Jamie was criticising is the style that we were lauding earlier on in the season when Harry Kane was dropping in and then playing those balls in behind for Son. It wasn't much different, just doing it without success now.
No, I think what we're saying on the style, as I said, I think you can win football games lots of different ways, and we've never almost criticised the style, but it is a style. I think it's fair to say that if you play like that, it's almost results driven. Yeah. It always has to be about the results. There's not much behind it.
There is one more thing. They've just had Chelsea, Liverpool and City in those last few games. The games are going to get a little bit more comfortable for them in the next few weeks. I think this next 4 or 5 weeks will determine whether you're on that, what would be that Jose period where he starts to get, a little bit disenfranchised with what's happening, or actually now he could grab hold of it, change the direction of it, bring those 2 players on side, win a trophy, get that sort of what would be Harry Kane back in the team. He's missed a couple of games. Play easier games, because obviously you go to City, you go to Liverpool, you're going to struggle, and that's going to happen. So for me, I think it's at that sort of what would be that moment of balance.
Well, do you think the trophy justifies that if it continues as it is?
If he finishes 5th and wins a trophy, I would say that's success, because at the start of the season, that's what we said Tottenham should deliver. I don't think we should change our minds now just because they were top of the league 3-4 weeks ago.